Hello, everybody. I am Mike from the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike, and I am back with another edition of Front Row, these live music performance reactions. And I am back in the wonderful world of Elvis Presley with a very early performance on the Ed Sullivan Show of the song Love Me. I think I'm familiar with this song. I think I know it from Wild at Heart, the David Lynch film. I think this is a song that Nicolas Cage sings at one point during the film. But I'm not familiar with the Elvis version, which is probably the most famous version of the song, so that's an error on my part. I've certainly never seen his performance as well, so let's go back to the very early days of Elvis and watch his talent form. Quick reminder that I do pause these videos, I do talk over them. That's just how I choose to react to these videos. If that is not to your taste, then it is what it is, but I would strongly urge you to watch this performance in its entirety before watching this reaction, and that you do not follow my terrible example. Also, a reminder that we do appreciate feedback. Please leave comments here on the channel, and likes and subscribes as well are a powerful way of ensuring the profile of this channel goes up and that the conversation broadens and more people come in and start chatting with us about music, about Elvis, about film, TV, all the other pop cultural goodness that's on this channel. That's a great motivator for doing these videos and content of all kinds with a greater level of regularity. Also, do check out the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike, the podcast that shares this feed where my wife Hannah and I go back and rewatch some of our favourite film and television franchises. And last but not least, we do appreciate donations via PayPal or Super Chats on YouTube, but please do not do so if it will cause you any financial hardship, because we certainly do not want that. Right, I'm not going to mess about anymore. I'm going to watch Love Me by Elvis Presley. Let's see what's going on here, shall we? Alrighty.
Elvis Presley.
All right, okay, I'm going to break my stopping soon record. And I've got to say, Ed Sullivan's an interesting figure because we didn't have him here in England. I say here in England. I live in New Zealand now, but I grew up in England. So my familiarity with him is through documentaries and movies. You know, I first came to really know about Ed Sullivan in the Oliver Stone movie The Doors, where there's an actor with these pretty impressive prosthetics on that are designed to make him look like Ed Sullivan. So whenever I see Ed Sullivan now, I always feel like it's an actor with prosthetics on. But yeah, okay, so let's get into this. He is obviously very, very heavily tied to Elvis's story as well. And when we think of Elvis's success, and I guess the success of the Beatles as well, of course, you know, Ed Sullivan is a very powerful figure along with Milton Berle. I think, is that the other guy? I think maybe whose show Elvis went on. Was that even before Ed Sullivan? So I'm a little bit fuzzy about the chronology of Elvis's rise, initial 3 or 4 year rise to success. So really curious to hear from you, the Elvis scholars and fans about that. So let's go back to the beginning.
Elvis Presley. Thank you very much, Mr. Sullivan. Friends, we'd like to do a number for you from our new album. It was just released by RCA Victor this week. With the help of the Jordanaires, friends, we'd like to do one called Love Me.
I love the way he calls the audience friends. And I've talked before about how there's a real sense of inclusivity with Elvis's music. And I don't mean that in the modern kind of, you know, politicized term. I just mean that in, this is for everyone. This is about us. You know, this is about the human experience. Yeah, I think it's really interesting that he calls people friends. There is that sense of community here.
Treat me like a fool.
Ooh. Silky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Break my faithful heart. Tear it all apart. But love me. Won't you love me? Wherever go.
Oh. Whoa. All right, this is smoking. This is good. This is good. Okay, so there's a lot going on here already. First of all, look at that guy. You know, statue, Greek god, there he is. The humor. You know, he's one of those people where he's hyperactive. I bet he's one of those people whose leg is always going. You know, has to be doing something, hates awkward silences. I can relate. And where it feels like he has to acknowledge that and almost puncture the bubble. You know, like you hear the opening chord being played on the acoustic guitar to give him pitch. And he has to make a joke because there's a moment's silence. He has to kind of mock the earnestness. But also the song. This is quintessential Elvis Presley. And I say this as a novice because I have that broad, probably quite unsophisticated view of what Elvis is that I think people on the outside of the fandom, although I am moving inside, I've got to say, have. You know, the that kind of, you know, affectation. But what's amazing here is you've got that kind of slight baritone, and then it goes sharper and higher on the crying over you, that section there. But what is amazing here, and this is not only great performance and great style, it's great empathy and audience understanding and almost psychology on Elvis's point, is that the music stops, the won't you love me? And then he does this, oh, and then it kicks back in. And what that does is psychologically, it creates a sense of satisfaction when everything comes back in after he's sort of ridden the silence with that little vocal. And it's almost a feeling of the satisfaction that comes from completion. So, for example, if you put 3 or 4 pencils on a table and one of them's crooked, you have to straighten it. You know, there's something about human nature, you will have to straighten that. And there comes this sense of satisfaction, this sense of inevitability, that the universe has been reset. And when Elvis does that, he rides that silence with the wherever you ever, and the music comes in, they go. As soon as that happens, we float up in this kind of euphoric sense of rightness, of correctness, of everything being as it should be, this kind of dreamy, communal wave. And I bet you Elvis didn't think that. I bet he wouldn't sit down and go, well, what I was trying to do with that, it's just instinct. He understands that from playing the audience. And that moment where he sort of pauses and looks up and there's that little flutter from the audience, this is him learning and calibrating and understanding how to use that power. It's really something. I'm going to go back a minute just so you can see what I mean about when he pauses and then it goes back in and you get that sense, that floating sense of satisfied return to how things should be.
Faithful heart, tear it all apart.
Here we go.
Won't you love me wherever we go?
See, back in. And the chuckle as well, he can't help himself. What a beautiful man.
Crying over you, dear only. He's somebody I would make.
Can't help himself.
Just to feel
Oh, the enunciation. Beautiful.
your heart. I want your heart. Being close to mine. So close. Go,
Ah,
darling, I'll be oh so.
just making sure he can hear okay.
I'll be sad and blue, crying over you, dear only. I would beg, we would beg and
Look at that confidence.
us to feel, yes,
What a cut up.
your heart. I want your heart. Being close to mine. So close. Go.
Using his body there as well.
And I'll be oh so lonely. Oh, begging on my knees. All I ask is please, please love me. Oh, yeah.
Wow. You know, in some ways, this is the best example of what Elvis can do in these early performances. I mean, the audience isn't quite as hysterical as it is on some of the more physically visceral performances. But what you can see here is his humour and his understanding of dynamics again. You know, this idea of pausing and then going back in and what that does, that calibration, that understanding. But that was amazing, you know, and I think that was pure Elvis Presley. This is what, you know, we know he was influenced. We know he was influenced by bluegrass. We know he was influenced by blues, rhythm and blues, gospel, all of these kinds of music. But there's something uniquely Elvis about this, the timbre of the voice, the way he uses his rhythm, the humour, all of these things coming together show us what a fully formed artist he was at this point. That was sensational. And I love this song. I love it. Yeah, this is top tier stuff for me. And I love that it isn't completely polished. This isn't like a crooner just coming up and being immaculate and perfect. He probably could have done it like that if he wanted to. But you see this kind of hyperactivity. You know, he dials it down. And the way his eyes move, you know, you've got the earnestness of the eyebrow raises, but you've also got the fact that he's looking over the audience at a certain point, which really creates a sense of divinity, a sense of tapping into something larger, whether that be God and spiritualism or our collective consciousness and experience of our collective experience as human beings. And then when he brings it back down and looks at the audience, he's bringing them in. He's bringing the people at home in as well. What an incredibly sophisticated performance. So, yeah, tell me what to cover next, whether that be another Elvis song or some other music reaction. Please do check out the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike and the other film, television, music, and pop culture related goodness on this channel. And also subscriptions and likes are very much appreciated, as are donations on PayPal, if you can afford it. But we don't want to cause anybody any financial hardship. So that's it for now. And I'll be back with another edition of Front Row very soon. Whew, that one blew my socks off.